People think they choose, but often the environment has already chosen for them first. The default, the order of options, the word recommended. The first thing they see on a screen. All of it can quietly shape what feels safe, familiar, or obvious.
Today, we are unpacking priming, why decisions start before awareness, and how to use cues to guide people without manipulating them.
If your work involves helping people make decisions, this one matters.
Welcome to Think Shift, the podcast where neuroscience meets business.
Hey Leanne, good to see you.
Hey Clint, how you going?
I'm good. Lots has happened since we last spoke.
Yes,
And,
you've had a bit of a rough week.
rough start to the week.
Yeah.
Missing the tip of my finger.
Whoops-a-daisy.
That was fun.
Yep.
So what I
Nicely
recommend...
bandaged though.
It was very nicely bandaged by a lady I know
really?
who I often podcast with.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
but
she must be pretty cool.
she's all right.
Yeah.
But I recommend not peeling oranges in midair. Like, don't do that with an ultra-sharp peeler.
Nope, absolutely not. Note.
So when
Note
you
to
learn...
everyone.
Took me 2 times to learn, though. I did it once before and cut off a fingernail. So didn't learn the lesson and did it again. And that time really, really nailed my finger. So,
Yeah, literally, yeah.
So it's fun.
So will there be a third time?
Better not be.
I hope
I tell you,
not.
showering with a plastic glove on and shaving with that, and it's I don't recommend it. So
No, it's good that it's healing. And,
yeah, it is good. But thank you for your assistance during that traumatic period of my life.
Yeah, I haven't got over it yet, but anyway.
You're probably more traumatized than I was. Okay.
No, all good. Happy to help.
So today we're going to talk about the science behind priming first. So before someone clicks, buys, signs up or says yes, their brain has already been influenced by the environment. So a word can prime a response, a visual cue can prime trust, a first impression can prime the rest of the decision. So Leanne, what is priming in plain language?
So priming, science that happens to all of us all the time, is basically a stimulus or a cue that subconsciously influences the decision that we make next. Right. So there'll be something that we'll see, we'll hear, we'll smell, some any of the senses really, and it can actually influence or change the way that we make the next decision or see the next bit of information.
Right. Okay. So does it work before people notice it? Or
it's all subconscious.
It's subconscious, right.
Yeah, so we actually don't realise. I mean, sometimes you'll think, and think of a situation where you go, oh, why did I choose that? Or that was a silly thing for me to do. I wouldn't have done that before. You are primed. Right. So remember, thinking back to Daniel Kahneman's dual process theory, system 1, system 2 thinking, where 95% of all decisions are emotional. We create this emotional connection or emotional bond to the priming stimulus. And that's the decision that we make. It's only later that we then think, oh, why did I do that? Or, yes, that actually was a really good decision that I made. Or, no, I could have done that better. That logic comes in and we justify it. But we were primed and it tilted the way that we made our decision.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've got some cues here that can prime people. I'm just going to run through a few of them. So words, images, colours, order of options, social proof. What about labels like most popular, recommended, limited? Are they examples?
They are, but that also pairs with what we know as, and we've also talked about, scarcity bias. So that's creating a sense of urgency, or limited in particular, or get it soon, those kinds of things. Recommended, it is and most popular. It can prime us in a way, it's like, oh, what are other people doing? But it's more of a scarcity nudge that is, I don't want to miss out, or I want to follow the crowd, social norms, or I want to fit in with what seems sort of standard practice and what everyone else is doing. I don't want to be an outlier. And as much as we say, and me inclusive, I want to be an outlier, there's only so far that we will push that. So they are a source of priming, but that these particular words are paired with what we know as scarcity bias.
Okay, that makes sense. What about in real life, like clothing, facial expressions. You walk into a room and you're wearing a particular outfit. That's a form of priming, correct?
Yeah, I mean, think about, all genders really, but it does tend to be a little bit more with women. And I know even with myself, I mean, I'm not sure, but I'm not tall. I'm about 5'7", and I'm looking at an outfit that looks gorgeous, and I'm looking at the clothing that looks gorgeous on, say, a model, or whether it's online or a display, a mannequin. And I think, and I'm primed. I look at it and go, I want that to look like that on me. I want to, and I don't want to. I'm not talking about the shape of the model or talking about the skinniness or the size of the model. The way the clothing fits, and I look at it, and that's generally what we do. We look at it and go, oh, that's nice. I want it to look like that on me. And of course, you go into the change room, or you get it delivered. You buy it online, you get it delivered, and you try it on, and you look and go, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
That's not, oh God, where's the return slip? Or I have to go, and it doesn't. And it's because we've primed ourselves to look at, hoping and looking at, and a lot of people do. We do get influenced by the way things look on others. I mean, that's the whole influencer market, right?
Yeah.
And the influencer, marketing campaigns that they have out there. But what's really interesting is there are a lot of brands now, and in a way they've been nudged to do this, as well as it's a bit more of a social justice thing, where they will have larger models or larger mannequins. And I know one thing that I have noticed, especially overseas, is with sporting brands. I know Aloe does it, Nike, Adidas, and all the types of brands, where you'll walk into the front of the store and you'll see, say, these female mannequins that are quite athletic and lean, but then you'll also see a bit more of a larger or a plus size mannequin as well. So we can use what we call self-reference by. So what represents me in that clothing? So we're being primed in the right way rather than being primed with something that is unrealistic and that we're never going to achieve.
So you just mentioned something in the change room there before, and this is something I notice when I change into clothing in a store in real life, which is not very often, I have to say. Everyone's buying online these days, so I don't know if it's the women's change room, but for men, it's heavy downlighting, which is great if you've got a physique and you can look broader and more muscular and things with downlighting. It's a very common fitness technique with photo shoots in particular, because it creates shadowing and it creates definition and all those things. But I've noticed, though, it can make you look great in some instances, but you get home and you don't have the same lighting, and you put the clothes on, you're like, oh, it looked great in store. What happened? Is that an example of priming?
Manipulative priming.
Yeah.
So one thing I've noticed, and it doesn't people doesn't tend to happen as much anymore because they got caught out. But you used to have slimming mirrors.
Yeah, that's right.
So for women,
I do remember that. Yes.
And probably men as well. But
so
line but slimming mirrors. It's like all of a sudden I've lost a couple of pounds, or maybe a kilo.
It's subtle
or
enough
two.
that you don't notice.
No, that's right. But a couple of kilos, 1 or 2, that's significant in the way clothes fit and look.
Yep.
And then you go home and go, hang on a minute.
Yes.
I don't look. But not only what happens is that we're not only looking at the clothing that we bought and go, geez, the clothing looks different, but we start critiquing ourselves, going, hang on, I actually look larger than what I did in that clothing. So it's then has a negative effect. So not only does the clothing not fit, we start having some self-doubts around our own image, which is dangerous.
Very dangerous.
We don't want to go into.
I know we're going down a mirror rabbit hole here, but in the gym as well, I noticed the mirrors widen you slightly.
Really?
Just because, and it's 2 reasons, obviously. One is that...
To make you look buff.
You look buff. And maybe a little overweight. If you are already overweight, you would look slightly more overweight and therefore come back more often. Isn't that a double-pronged benefit for a gym?
For them, for the business.
Yeah. So it's just something, it's very subtle, and I think it's the style of mirror, though. It's not deliberate. It's just some mirrors have a more narrowing or a widening effect. And I'm not a mirror expert, obviously, but I have noticed that.
Let us know. Yeah, send us a message or write in the chat if it's something that you've noticed. I mean, there's one particular store, which I'm not going to name, but it happens every time. And it's got to the point now where I actually won't go in.
Yeah, for sure. Funnily enough, the next topic we're going to move on to is priming and manipulation.
Yeah. Like generally with manipulative priming, it is intentional, as the examples that we've just given. It's to get a coercive or manipulative outcome that will benefit. And, we talk about nudging and ethical influence. I mean, those of you that know me are probably giggling right now because our whole branding and our ethos is around, ethically influencing. But this is, we influence for the good intentions of the customer or the consumer, not for you. And those examples that we just gave are not for the consumer.
For the business.
It's the benefit of the business.
Yeah, there's still negative effects.
Yeah,
of that.
negative effect of this kind of priming.
So let's move on to what to look out for as a consumer.
Yeah.
It's a nice little segue into that. So you're not weak because cues affect you. It's a human thing. We can't escape that. The point is not to become paranoid. The point is to spot when the environment is steering harder than it should. So I've got some common priming cues that consumers experience, and we're going to move back into online now. We've had our go at in real life. We're going to go back to the online world. So things that are common priming cues are pre-selected options, default plans, suggested products, social proof nearby buttons, images that set mood before offers appear. Anything else that you can add to that mix?
Well, I think the pre-selected and the defaults is an interesting one. And that is where it's technically to reduce effort. We've established that, we take the path of least resistance and the brain will take shortcuts because it needs to, because there are 35,000 decisions essentially that we make each day. So the defaults and the presets, we tend to just go with it. Well, it's there for a reason. And we won't often change those. And so an example to that, and I might talk about the Microsoft example that we were discussing since we're talking about presets and defaults. So Microsoft has, but when you subscribe and get your software and you then set it up, and as you're using it, there's a whole set of presets and defaults.
Yes.
95% of people do not change those because, and this was in a study, because their reasoning was that it's Microsoft. So if this is set as a default or it's pre-selected, it's got to be right, because why would Microsoft pre-select or default
it's the recommended option.
Recommended button. But it isn't. Microsoft will set it up, and they're not doing anything bad, but they're not setting it in good faith of how you're going to use it. It's just what's easiest for them.
Yeah.
But one in particular is the autosave is not default.
Right.
And I know number of times I have cursed Microsoft because I have lost in documents and pages of information, really good information too, by the way, because thinking, well, this is technically pre-selected or it's a default because it's so important, but it's not. And if you go into your products now and you have a look, so as you're going into Word, you'll see, oh, no, it's not.
Is that common still now?
Yeah,
It still hasn't changed?
It hasn't changed.
Okay, that's interesting.
Hasn't
Wonder why
changed. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I need to go and check mine
95%,
now.
go and check it. 95%, and that's what they found. And people said, well, it's Microsoft and it's, reputable brand, which it is. They've got good products, which they do. And so we'll just leave the defaults as is. We're primed to keep things easy. But unfortunately, there are some crucial, tools that we need that actually we should be looking and making an effort and changing. So priming doesn't always have a positive outlook.
So now everybody out there is going to start looking at
Look
the
at
software
autosave.
Hold on a minute. The setup that's default isn't always in your best interest.
It is not.
Worth looking at.
It often isn't. It often isn't. Now, I'm not saying that what is set is going to work against you, but there may be a few. Look at how you manage your work and your workflow and your business and your environment, and it's okay to make a couple of tweaks. And people think, well, if I switch this on or toggle this on or toggle this off, I'm going against the default or the recommended. No, you're just setting up the presets that suit you the best for your business.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So even though you're primed to keep it, Now you know we're explaining to you what happens with priming. Use that as a powerful source for you, not against.
100%. All right, so I'm just going to talk about something here around something that I've noticed, and quite often we'll be talking about something in real world, having a conversation about a product or a service, and the next thing you know, you jump online and there's 50 ads regarding that product or service because your phone's listened, even though they say they don't. They definitely listen. And then ads are coming up everywhere and you're like, okay, wow, yeah, I do want that. And is that a form of priming? Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
Exclamation mark.
Like probably the worst kind, or depending on whose perspective.
And that's right. And the algorithm knows this. So the algorithm, it will catch on. And you're right. I mean, there are microphones in all our devices, whether you switch them on or off. Look, they are permanently on, even if you switch. It has to be. And also, we don't switch off our microphones because they're things that we need.
Yeah. Like,
to use it for.
Hey, Amazon, do this.
Yeah. Hey, Siri.
Hey, Siri. And I even noticed it with...
I turned Siri off, but it doesn't matter.
With Netflix and online streaming services, you'll be talking about a movie with someone,
Yes.
and then you log on and suddenly that movie is in the carousel. And
Yes.
it's like, that's a little bit convenient.
Yes.
It happened once, happens 5 times, and you're like, okay, that is not a coincidence anymore.
I actually did a Friday Fun Facts around Netflix.
Okay.
Around this topic, but also around the priming they have a very elaborate and creative way of creating their thumbnails that prime you to watch certain things. So that might be something that we can talk about at a later date as well.
Yes. I like the sound of that.
Yeah. But yes, so that's right. We're being primed. And also the touch points is, the more often you hear something, it can annoy you as well. I understand that. But the more, if it's relevant to you, the more often you hear something or see something and it does you end up with endowment effect, that emotional connection to it, the more chances are that you will say yes, you will purchase, you'll sign up, you'll be a member. So, and there's evidence around that, which is why this happens.
Yes. So just moving into some positivity around priming now.
Yeah.
What does it feel like when priming is working for the consumer? Like a positive prime, if you like.
Yeah, so...
Optimus prime? Maybe?
Yeah, that's good. Is it a pessimist? Is it a pessimist? Yeah.
There's a subtle Transformers reference. No one would have got that. That's fine.
Oh,
No.
no.
No,
Transformers.
Not your thing?
No.
Optimus Prime? You don't know who that is? Child of the
Now
80s,
I
sorry.
wanna know.
That's in my area.
Oh.
That's okay. Back to you.
No, I'll stick to Thunderbirds.
Okay.
So what was the question?
The question, when does it feel like priming is working
Talking about
for a consumer?
So there's got to be a positive outcome. And when an option comes up that we've been looking for, or we did something that we hadn't thought of, and we get nudged or primed to think of something differently, or a different skill, or a different ingredient in a recipe, or a different product that you're going to benefit from. That's technically an optimist prime.
Yeah.
Optimistic.
Yep. Well done.
Prime.
Yep. Let's put that in there.
Yep.
Very good. Is there a way for a consumer, though, to pause and check at any time? Or does it happen they just don't know?
No.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You can't check.
No, not really. Even with me, and I know this stuff back to front, this stuff back to front. Both of us do, and we are human. Mm-hmm. Our brains operate in a certain way. We can't change that. I get primed doing things all the time. It's just afterwards I know what's happened. It is really hard. It is a subconscious stimulus or a subconscious cue that drives us to make a certain decision. It is very, very hard to stop that and pause, because it generally is working in our favour. Because we generally gravitate towards the primes that we want. So we're a bit biased in our primes. Yeah.
Because my next question was going to be post-purchase, if you like, when there's a bit of euphoria. If you have suddenly noticed that you were primed in a negative way to make that purchase, surely that would have a bad and long-lasting negative impact, or for you and that brand that you've just purchased from, right? You would just suddenly go, they've deceived me. I don't want to buy from them again. So you're saying though, but generally the prime is positive, that won't happen.
Generally, the prime is positive, but you can be primed negatively as well, and that's where the peak end rule comes in.
Right.
So the peak end rule is where, it's and this is a really good bias to get an understanding of for your own businesses as well. So the peak end rule, there has to be a high peak initially for a customer or consumer for the next step to happen. Obviously, if it's a low peak and they're not having a good experience, that doesn't go any further.
Yep.
That's pretty obvious. So you've got a high peak, they're having a great time, and then they will continue doing business, they'll continue looking at a product, they'll continue engaging with you. And then it comes towards the end of the journey or end of the experience. If it is a positive experience, fabulous. You've had a great peak and a great end. If it is a negative end, or as you just explained, that it wasn't great at the end, the brain can't differentiate the high peak to the low end. It doesn't look at and extrapolate the entire feeling of the journey. It will only look at the end.
The bad
so
bit.
even at the bad bit. So obviously the peak was great because you then continued on, but the end was bad. The entire experience was bad. So we start thinking there was no point in that experience where I had a good time. I need an hour of my time back, or I need that day back. And what made me pursue this?
Right.
What made me continue? But actually, the experience you had was great until you got to the end.
So we're going to talk about business in a minute, but TripAdvisor reviews, is that because there was one bad experience within that holiday and that's created a peak end situation, or is it different?
No, that's exactly.
That is that?
That is that.
Because you're seeing either really good or really bad. There's a couple of in between.
Yeah, there is.
It's generally
but
very polarizing.
Yeah, it is. It
Yep.
is. And I mean, think about yourself and our listeners. Think about where someone has then said to you, like, I'm not doing that again, or that was terrible. I mean, I've had Chris say that to me. I think I've had you, Clint, say that to me. Yeah, but think of all the good things that happen. But it took someone with an external lens to say to me, Leanne, look at all the great things that happened on the trip, or the great, things that happened in this experience. And it's like, oh, but I had to actually be cued, had to be primed to think of it, because the experience was so bad in the end. That's all I remember right now. And that's all that is significant to me right now. But it takes an external source to say, but, it was great.
Yep. Yeah,
I'm sure that's happened to you too.
Many times.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
Before we continue, don't forget to like and subscribe to Think Shift on all the social channels so you don't miss out on the next shift that's coming up. All right, Leanne, let's talk about where priming shows up in business. It's not just an advertising thing. It shows up in pricing pages and onboarding, forms, checkouts, proposals, even internal team communications. But where do businesses use it without even realizing it?
So testimonials is a good one. I mean, we prime with a positive testimony. You're not going to prime with a negative. You've got 1 star.
Yeah, you're not going to do that.
Yeah, no. So I mean, and it's the reason why authority and social proof are such influential principles. I mean, part of Robert Cialdini's 7 Principles of Influence. You've got both social proof and authority, and that's because we are primed to take the next step. We're primed that this product or this business is safe. Because remember, the first thing the brain is going to do is make sure you're in a safe space, safe environment. You're going to be making safe decisions. That's the job of the brain has a very important job, is to keep us safe, regardless of what context that we're in. So having a review that's 1 star obviously is risky. To mitigate that risk, we use reviews and testimonials with 5 stars.
Yeah, we don't show. Wasn't there research though done on the star system though, showing that if it's all 5 stars, there's trust issues?
Lost. Correct.
Interesting. We're going to start getting some bad reviews then.
No way. No. It's not bad reviews. What the study was is if you had all 5s.
Yeah.
So if it was all 5s, but also if you've got 10 reviews and they're all 5s, fabulous. If you've got 1,000 reviews and they're all 5s, come on, like that seems, really what? Are you perfect?
What about 24 4 reviews, Leanne, that are all 5s. Is that okay?
Is that what you have?
Yeah.
How on earth did you get that? No.
I think it's because, when
No,
someone leaves a
you-
bad review, I threaten them.
Yeah. So again, authenticity, is it fabricated? Is it flawed? And there's ways to extract reviews that aren't real, and we know that now. And so that then becomes, well, sure, you've got all 5. And you know what? This poor business might actually have, all 5 stars. But yeah, no, that's what that study was. So they say that there needs to be a couple of 4.5s in there. So it still needs to be in the high 4s, but not all 5s.
So when I ask for reviews from clients next, I'll have to say to them, do you mind just maybe
Doing
a 4.5?
Or 4.8?
Yeah, just a 4.8. Just bring it down a peg, because I don't want to be...
But you know what? That will happen there.
Yep.
You'll prime them
I will.
to
Start looking at things that went wrong in the project, maybe? Maybe?
that, but also prime them to give you a lower score.
Yeah.
So you might say, oh, don't give me, I mean, obviously you're not going to do this, but you might say, look, don't want a 5. A 4.5 would be good. Chances are that you will be lucky to get a 4. You will prime them down.
Right, well, mental
Don't
note,
do that.
Don't do
Okay.
that.
Don't do that. Showing awards, that's a good one. Because having awards is great. Can guys, can they please be real awards? No buying of awards or purchasing awards.
What about when wine labels get their own awards? They come up with an award and they create the award, and then they have that, gold medal in Shiraz in, Barossa Valley, and you see it on the label and you look into it deep and it's like, oh, they've invented that award. That is that.
Well, you were primed initially to look at it and go, oh, this must be good.
When I see multiple gold stars, I jump for that wine.
Their job is done.
Yeah.
Their job is done. It's only if you then take the time or have the time to actually look into it. And that's what consumers and businesses bank on, that you're not going to look into.
Yeah.
They just see the stars or the shininess of whatever the award is or the logo is that's on the website without actually looking into what the award actually is, because who's got time for that?
Yeah.
Well, now hopefully you guys will start looking into it, because I know a number of people and a number of businesses, you do too, that have purchased awards. And the one thing I can proudly say, and same with you, Clint, is if I don't deserve an award, I don't want it. The award goes to the best person for the job. If you don't deserve it, you don't get it. You don't get it. You don't fabricate it or buy one instead. But the reason why people do it, and the reason why that option is there, is because of priming.
So another example of that is showing company logos of those that you've worked with.
Yep.
And I see a number of them on sites that are, and often these are completely hallucinated. Things like appeared on Channel 9. I was on Channel 7, these kinds of things. It's like, so you look into the deeper and it's like, they were never actually on
my
there.
website?
So never believe Leanne. It's easy to fake that though, isn't it? Appeared on Channel 9. Oh yeah, I was on there years ago. It's like, okay, so you weren't.
Yeah. And who's going to look into it?
Who's going to look into it? Yeah. So I guess it's the deception trade-off. If everything else looks great and that's the one thing that doesn't, maybe look into it. But, I mean, again, though, I've seen this with the testimonials that you mentioned earlier. Quite often in the past, you would find that the photos with those testimonials, you could do a reverse image search in Google. So throw that image into Google search and you would find that photo was a stock photo, right?
Really?
Yeah. And so it was just a fake testimonial. Like it's a fake testimonial, fake image.
Wow. Right.
But now with AI that allows you to create portraits.
And avatars,
you're not gonna be able to
that
find
are actually
those.
like image-based, like actual,
So it's adding fire to the deception game,
Yeah.
really, unfortunately.
But the reason why these options are there, or people create these services, ethical or not, is because they're used as a nudge.
Yeah.
They're used to
And they
prime the consumer, and they work.
That's right. If it gets to a conversion, it's done its job.
It's done, yeah.
Right. So the other thing I was going to talk about here was that I see it all the time in proposals as well. So before someone even gets to the price, so I'm talking about proposals in terms of scopes of work or, products and service proposals. So they've already been primed by the order of information in the proposal, right? So if the proposal starts with the scope, inclusions and the cost, suddenly the buyer's thinking, that's a quote, right? But if you start with a problem, the risk of not doing anything, the commercial opportunity, then suddenly the price lands in a very different frame. So that's a form of priming too, right?
100%.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I do in my proposals.
it makes
that's what I teach.
an effective proposal,
in the
right?
accreditation course. We actually go through redesigning and creating proposals in a way that positively prime, ethically, obviously, for conversions.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got a great conversion rate with your proposals.
I do. And my clients have one with theirs who I've helped with create their proposals again. And it's funny, it just takes a few small tweaks and the conversion rate goes through the roof.
Yep.
It's interesting. So we've already talked about how it affects trust. Helpful priming reduces uncertainty, of course. Consistent cues make an experience feel coherent. Misleading cues, though, create suspicion, and we've just gone through a whole bunch of those, right? And if people feel pushed, trust drops really quickly. So you've got to be careful of the push. So I'm imagining with particular priming examples, do you have some of those that feel more of a push?
It's hard to actually really push a prime, because if you push too much, the person will walk away.
Right. They see through it.
They see through it. It's icky. It's that really salesy.
Just feels manipulative straight away.
It feels manipulative.
Yep.
One thing people do get wrong, though, is talking about themselves a lot. So if we go back to proposals.
Yeah.
And
about
I
us
see,
upfront.
oh my God, look at us. It's about us. Meet
Look what
the
we've
team.
done.
Look what we've Who cares? As a consumer, I have a problem that I need solving.
Talk about me.
What is it that you do? And so that's one thing within proposals that I always change. And I would say probably 99.9% of proposals and that I see and clients that I work with, I will see this and we move the about us or the about me or our team to the end. Before the terms and conditions, but to the end. That's fine. That you are highly skilled and talented at what you do. And yes, the customer does want that, but they need to have an emotional connection first. Can you solve my problem or not?
Yeah.
As long as you can solve my problem, then I'm happy to see how good you are.
That's right.
And that's great. But also it primes in the other way. If you then have, the problem that they've got and how you can commercially solve it, what the outcomes are, and they're going through this going, yes, that's what it is. Yes, that's what I would like to see. Yes, that's a way that we can solve it. So you can help me. Then you have your about us at the end. You've actually primed them to see you in a much better light than you would at the beginning. So it's a win-win situation.
We've just talked a little bit about how priming shows up in sales and proposals. Tell me a little bit more about pricing, though, how it affects pricing.
So numbers is a huge thing with priming, and pricing in particular, we can prime it positively and negatively. So an example that I often use is, let's just say we go into Bunnings or a hardware store to purchase, say, $100 voucher. So it's $100. We then go into Harvey Norman or an electronics store because we're looking at a TV and there's a wonderful TV on the wall, the exact dimensions that we want. It's $5,000. Even though the pricing differential between the $100 and the $5,000 is large, we are primed with a low number. So when we look at that TV, we go, whoa, geez, that's expensive.
Yeah.
That's expensive. So forget that scenario. Same person, whether it's me, whether it's you go into Apple instead and you look at and browse and purchase an Apple Mac. And it might be, say, $3,000. You then go back to Harvey Norman. Back to Harvey Norman. Remember, no discounting. Yeah. Keep your pants up. Keep your pants up. So the Apple Mac's $3,000. We then go back to the same store, Harvey Norman, same electronics store. We look at that same TV on the wall. Same dimension, same everything. It is $5,000. Again, the pricing differential is smaller, but because we are primed at a larger number, we look at that and go, "Oh, that's not too bad."
Yeah,
it's the same TV, it's the same store, it's the same everything, but we are primed to a different price.
Interesting, isn't it?
So often, and especially with builders and in building and construction, trades too, I'll say to clients, if there is a build that's going to be in the millions, which often happens, but it's going to be a lot, they'll say to me, well, how do we prime someone to then they get a quote that might be, let's just say 1.8 million or 2.8 million. And I'll say what you do is within a conversation or as part of your proposal, you will actually quote what say some equipment would be, or what the materials cost, or in the conversation you will say, labour for this, or materials around this, and you'll not inflate, but you'll start using numbers that are big. So then when they get the proposal that is at the 1.8 million, they're already primed to a large number, so they actually it seems more reasonable.
Interesting.
Now, you're not being deceptive. It's still the same cost. You're not inflating the cost.
You're just buttering them up, if you like.
You are priming. You are priming someone for their brain for that number to feel acceptable. And especially if it's it has to be in the best interest of the consumer or the client, and that's what they're going to have to pay. That's what the cost is. There are ways that you can deliver that information and present that information to a customer to prime them in a way that is more palatable. So again, it is done in a positive way, not a negative way.
Yeah. Okay.
So priming for pricing is very powerful if you do it right.
Interesting. So what are some of the common mistakes that businesses make with priming?
Making things all too hard. So maybe identifying or doing some pre-selection or options or defaults that are not in the best interest. It has to be relative. So the prime itself needs to be relative.
Okay.
So if it's something that is insignificant to the customer, you're not going to be able to prime them. Something they're not interested in, or it's not going to solve their problem. It has to be relevant. And we're going back to this choice paradox of offering all these options and maybe too many primes.
Yeah.
It's like, this is all too hard. I don't know what I'm doing. You've actually made it more complicated than what it needs to be. I'm just going to walk away and do nothing.
Also forcing an action on the consumer before they even trust you.
Correct.
It's like, we haven't dated yet. You're asking me to do this,
Marry
you.
you.
Step back a bit. So that would be an example as well, right?
Yeah.
What separates helpful priming from manipulative priming, though?
So manipulative priming is where there's a bad outcome. And it's also taking control away from the consumer.
We talked about dark patterns
We did.
in the previous episodes.
And it sort of fits into that genre of deception and dark patterns. We're primed for the positive, the Optimus Prime.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome. So it's, the outcome has to be right for the consumer. It has to be done gently. It's not aggressive. It needs to make sense. We can also create a sense of safety around deliverables. And based on that decision, someone has chosen to work with you or choose your product, and actually that's not what you're offering, or it's not what you deliver.
Yeah.
You've primed them, you've manipulated the prime to get the business. You were never intending to deliver all that work, or you've changed the scope, or you've changed the price, and they're stuck.
Here's a good example of priming that goes already. Agencies in the past would often pitch and sell in the idea that a client's going to get this big team. Here's a creative idea we've come up with, et cetera, and then they win the business, and then suddenly they're handed over to Junior Burger, like a junior, to manage the account, and so that business is no longer getting what was presented to them in the room. I'd say that's
It's actually happened to me.
Right.
Boy, I wasn't happy.
No.
And I let them know.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a bad example.
That's manipulative prime.
Manipulative prime. Yeah. All right. Here's the shift. Choice starts before awareness. Before someone clicks, buys, signs up, or agrees, the environment has already shaped what feels familiar, easy, safe, or normal. That doesn't make priming bad. It makes it powerful. Use it to reduce effort. Use it to create clarity. Use it to help people make better decisions. But if your cues remove control, hide intent, or make one option feel unavoidable, you are no longer guiding, you are manipulating. And that's Think Shift. I'm Clint.
I'm Leanne.
One idea, one shift in 30 minutes. If this episode changed how you think, share it with someone who makes decisions for a living.
And don't forget to follow Think Shift on all the socials so you don't miss what shift is coming up next.
See you in the next episode. Bye for now.
Bye.
This is a Marchmade Media production.